empty blue sky. Take me on your treasure dive. I've got nothing to lose after years with the blues.
It was kind of by accident. I built this van as an adventure van to help with my photography company and to get out more and go for long weekends. I would live in my Subaru for like 5 days at a time, and I was just tired of it. So I had some extra money, I built the van, and then actually my roommate moved out kind of unexpectedly right at the end of our lease. You know, where I was living in Colorado, I was paying over $1,000 a month in rent. I tried to get another roommate, but didn't really work out. Long story short, I was like, I'll live in the van for a month or two until something pans out. And after the first month or two, I was like, this is panning out pretty good. And I wasn't paying rent. So at this point, like I was working part to full-time job, making decent money and banking way more of it. So at that point, it was just simple. It was like, let's do this. Let's see how long it'll go. And here it's been almost a year and a half now. First thing I did was insulation. Well, I gutted it. It was cargo van, but had some other stuff in it. I knew everything would be around that. And the electronics came shortly around that because I wanted to do all the electronics before I did the paneling and the woodwork, so it was all hidden and looked pretty seamless. The solar was a little bit, because I know I wanted a blender and I wanted to have a fridge and I wanted a decent amount of power. And with the inverter 1500, and that also includes all the wires, because wire isn't cheap. And when you run in, I have quite a few outlets. I mean, I remember I think I spent almost $100 in wire. I lived in a nice apartment community. I know they didn't want me out front, like setting up shop. I did do some stuff there, but most of it I did in a Home Depot parking lot. I bought so much stuff at Home Depot, they got to know me and they didn't even care. And it was great too, because like, hey, oh shoot, I need screws. Instead of running up the road, I just walked 50 feet, walked right inside. They were awesome about it. Next from the build, I put up the paneling, I think, and the woodwork. After the electronics, and then I built all these pieces kind of modularly as I went along. I remember this was the last thing I did, was this desk. I paid almost $7 for the van itself. It went well over budget. I would say somewhere between 12 and 15 when it was all said and done. Hi, I'm Zack. I'm a professional photographer traveling on the road. I've been living in my van for a year and a half now, and this is my van. It's Carolyn, named after my aunt who was a traveler as well, and she's kind of stubborn. This Dodge van's been pretty stubborn for me since I got it. It's a 2001, has a 318 engine in it, pretty reliable engine, which I haven't had problems with. I take it off-road quite a bit too, so that's part of the problem, but it's been a great van for me overall. I bought it in Colorado. It has less than 100,000 miles on it still, so hopefully get another couple years out of it for sure. But I travel quite a bit and take a lot of dirt roads, so that's kind of where I'm at with it. When I got it, the bumper was completely destroyed, so I rebuilt that and painted it. Looks a lot sharper now. It kind of looked like a junker when I first got it. Got this light bar, which is a great investment. That's a curved one. Even the small ones work well, but that one literally turns night into day. And when you're driving down mountain roads, it's great. I see a lot more wildlife, which is good for safety and just observing it. Plus, it's pretty cool actually too. Okay, so these are some new tires I just got. They're Falcon Wild Peaks, all-terrains, highly recommended. If you're getting new tires, I highly recommend that you just get all-terrain tires. It'll help you a lot getting on the dirt roads where you want to boondock and stuff like that. Another handy little feature, kind of small, but blind spot spot things for your mirrors. Really helps out a lot, seeing the little blind spots that are going on. These sunshades are helpful as well. I get to vent a little in the summer. It also helps with condensation when you're trying to stealth camp. A lot of people don't think about that, but it definitely helps a lot. Up here, I got 400 watts of solar panels. I built a custom rig to hold the panels. You can't really see them that well, but they're up there. I wanted it to kind of be stealthy. I'm not as concerned about it now. This is my solar shower, which I fill up here. The black gets pretty warm. As it gets warm, you let it go through the day, and then you actually pressurize it through a little valve here. I have an air compressor on board that will pressurize it almost to tap water. And then I hook a hose to it with a shower attachment to here. And yeah, I open it up. I can even open the doors, put this blue thing down, get a little privacy if I'd like. The blue thing's basically just a short tarp that'll go over. It cost me about $100 in parts. As the day goes on, it gets pretty hot. Obviously in the winter, it's not that usable. This is a pretty cool story. I would never have the money to afford this kind of a vinyl wrap, but my buddy Jason, he's the owner of wallmonkeys.com. They actually make these vinyl things, and they'll do custom ones. They do different designs. They do a lot of stuff for kids' rooms and stuff. You can have sharks and stuff like that. I also have a fan up there. I have the Max Air fan. I've had nothing but good things to say about the Max Air fan, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then I also have some spots here. You can see on the other side, I'm not using one now here, but basically I can put sealable storage containers up there and then bungee them with these little racks that I have. And that allows me to just up my storage a little bit. Another thing I did too is when I put on the light bar was I put on these smaller lights in the back. I have a rear view camera that's on top too. It's angled down pretty good so I can actually park pretty well with it. But that definitely helps a lot. I do have windows, but it's hard to see out of them, and usually you got crap everywhere. Another thing I did was I put on this rack, which is actually really convenient. It's actually a rack that's designed to go underneath here, like in your hitch mount, but it fit perfectly in between my things for the solar panels. You actually see here's the hitch rack that it was supposed to be used for. But what's great about this is I have a little carpet I keep for outside. I got my camp chair, and then normally I got a bundle or two of firewood up there. Also keep my bike back here for lots of things. If I'm boondocking and I want to go into town, I can literally just ride the bike and leave my van where it's normally at. Another great thing too is if I'm on a dirt or sandy road and I'm not sure if the van can get up it, I can actually ride the bike and kind of scout it out before I go up there and possibly get stuck in a situation where I can't handle it. Got a couple things going on this side as well. First thing is this sliding door, which I'm going to tell you, if you get a van with the sliding door, I thought it was going to be cool. Don't do it. They're horrible. I've had to replace the parts up in here twice. There at least 3 times in the field this door has failed me, and I have to literally, one night it was 10 o'clock at night, I was going to bed and the door broke. Not broke, but the bolts came undone. I had to spend an hour and a half before I went to sleep fixing it. I put hundreds of dollars into this door. I hate it. Don't get a slider, get the barn doors. Also on this side I have my awning, which I love this thing. I don't use it as much as I'd like to, because you do have to pull it out and take it out. It's worked pretty well overall. Welcome inside my home. This was actually a completely empty cargo van when I started. I did my bed lengthwise, a little different. 1, I wanted the kitchen outside. 2, I'm 6'4", and so I can sit up in it, and then I just kind of do everything sitting down. I built it all myself. Every little thing has a story behind it. Rule number 1 is you live out of the van, not in the van. While I was building the van, I had an extra piece of wood, and my friend Emily, she did this beautiful owl that's huge. And she's E.B. Macaulay on Instagram. If you want to find her, she does do these for money. I actually traded her some photos for this. And that's one thing too, if you have a little art, even if you can't make money off it, it's really good for trade. I did that in Mexico quite a bit. Like people would see the side of my van, the picture, and they'd be like, "Oh, beautiful." I'd be like, "I'll give you a picture for tacos." My mom passed away a few years ago. I had never seen an owl before, and I spent a lot of time in the backcountry. And the first trip I took after she passed away, I was thinking about how I'd never seen an owl before and how it was kind of unique. And that trip I saw 4 owls. And ever since then, I've seen like hundreds. So it's just a way that I kind of remember her a little bit. And I actually have quite a few owl things. I have owl towels. I used to have an owl welcome mat. I have this little owl dream catcher that my friend made me, and just reminds me of her being here. So this is my desk, kind of my work area. I wanted to keep the food area and my play area a little different. So I always eat back there. But this is where I put my laptop, which I keep right here. And I can set that up. Cool thing about it too, like I was trying to make this a mobile studio, and I still can, I just don't use it as much. I can pull the laptop here. If you want to look at my pictures, I can show you online, and then actually I can print them out. I have a Canon Pro 100 photo printer. It's a very high quality photo printer. Yeah, I can print out photos for you on demand. I got luster photo paper ready to roll. What I did, and this wasn't even a plan, I was thinking about putting a shelf here, but these things that I had at my old house fit in there perfectly. They were sliding out, so I put a belt on them, which actually, this is a good tip. I've used belts on a couple places, and I just get belts from Walmart. Sometimes they're just small belts. I get kids belts, but they're a couple bucks and they keep things strapped. And instead of having like a red bungee cord, it just looks a little cooler to have a leather belt. So these come out. I actually have tons of storage here, tons of storage there. So this is my desk. This is where, you know, I do my reading, stuff like that. I have pens back there. I use these little wicker baskets I got at Goodwill to just store random things. But moving along, I got a fishing rod up here. Again, just use every little bit of space you can. Another thing I put on was these couple little hooks here right by the door for like my bathing suit and stuff. So when it's wet, I can put it there and it actually drips on a little plastic thing instead of on my flooring. This is my hat rack. I wear a lot of hats. I also keep some mittens and stuff like that up here. Again, just utilizing every little bit of space. These are like little plastic things from Walmart. I didn't want to do the cabinetry, plus it cut down on the weight. It picked up a lot of weight with all the wood I had in it. For the most part, all my clothes are in here. Winter clothes are stored in different places. Another thing I did was I put in these directional lights. I got these on Amazon or eBay, I forget which. These are really cool because they're directional. So I can, you know, again, when I'm stealthy, I can get the light right where I'm at without shining everything up. The other cool feature they have too is they're a nightlight. So I can go with blue or I can go with white. And they're pretty cool. Over here, I put in outlets running off the inverter just like anything else. Another thing I got was these little tabs. One thing I like about, I don't have them on all of them, but this one in particular tells me my voltage. So I know if my battery's getting low. You know, it tells me right there. It's right in front of my face. And I use this to charge my phone, my camera batteries. So this is the inside of my kitchen. And again, if it was cold or dark or rainy, I could cook in here. I would just put that stove up here. But basically everything that's accessible from the back is accessible from the front. I also put my vent fan right towards the rear a little bit. Again, because a lot of it is, well, one, you want to vent it to keep cool. And trust me, these fans in the summer are a lifesaver. And the cool thing about my sink being here, every morning, I brush my teeth right here. You know, it's all very simple. This is another storage cubby. Don't keep clothes in here. I keep random stuff. First drawer is actually all my smoothie stuff because I like eating healthy in the morning. So I have all the supplements and seeds and seaweed and stuff that I put in my smoothies. Right there, quick access. This is more toiletries, you know, my brushing teeth, mouthwash, body wipes, all my medicines, in case I get sick or I have an allergy or something, Band-Aids, that's all there. And then this one's the junk drawer, and it's just everything else, you know, who knows what could be up there. One thing, I love books. I have tons of books in storage, but I've chose a few. I stuffed some, you know, again, every inch counts. So like my sweatshirts go up here. You know, I have my helmet. And again, like I bought a helmet that can do many different things. This helmet I can use rock climbing. I can use it when I'm on my bike. I can use it snowboarding, whatever I want to do. Another cool thing to have is one of these stretch out straps. It's basically like a daisy chain thing, but when you're in a van, it's kind of hard to stretch out and keep limber. And you know, if it's raining and I want to stretch out and can't get outside, this thing's really cool as far as, you know, getting my body into different positions that I can stretch out. Yeah, and then the rest is just kind of various storage. So this is my solar setup. I have a MPPT solar controller, which is the little bit better one. It's a little more efficient. Got it on Amazon, was like maybe 150 bucks. Can handle all the wattage of stuff that I want to do. I have two 100 amp hour batteries. They're the universals, which are very popular. They're on Amazon. They're, I think, 150 bucks each. But another thing I did, and I highly suggest this too, is I hooked up my batteries to my alternator through an isolator. And actually the isolator I got was a little more expensive. It was like 90 bucks, but it does two things. One, whenever my car's running, it charges the batteries. And if it's dark or rainy and I want to run my blender, I can just start my engine and I got all the power I need. It basically turns your engine into a generator. This is my switch for my inverter. This is another USB port. I got a thermometer, inside, outside, and this actually has a remote sensor, and it tells me the humidity and the temperature outside and inside, which is really useful. And then I have a remote for my LEDs that I can access here. This is actually a Twin XL, which is a great size because it's the length of a queen bed for me, but it's the width of a twin. You know, obviously it's kind of a one-person deal. One thing I did design is I have a piece of wood underneath, and I can actually pick up the bed and slide it out a foot, put that piece of wood on the back, and then use these pillows to cover it up, and then it becomes about the size of a full bed. So this is my storage underneath. Got quite a bit going on, as you can see. This is all my backpacking gear. I keep it in a suitcase, dual function. That way if I need to fly back home, I'm from Baltimore originally, I have my suitcase, but I'm using it as storage, not just an empty suitcase. I have an air compressor, which if you do a lot of off-road or sand stuff, highly suggest. I spent a little more money. I had a cheap one to start. Went to Baja last year. It's like it's worth a couple $100 to get a really good one. This one can fill, I can basically air down my tires, which on washboard roads or sandy roads, you can go down to 15 PSI. It's like you have totally different tires on there. So the air compressor is really useful. This is my sleeping bag, toolbox, file cabinet. Then I have all my fishing gear. Pretty happy with the storage. I mean, you always want more, but I've been able to fit quite a bit. I mean, my life's in here and it works pretty well. So this is my outdoor kitchen. One of the things I wanted to do with my van was be able to cook outside really easily. When I researched, people talked about cooking outside, and it's definitely been a big deal for me. This is my fridge. I can access it from the actual outside. I have a sink, running water. I can reach that outside. Then I have shelves for food storage, pots and pans. I actually took stuff from my normal kitchen back home because I had a new set and I wanted to use it. And then I have some storage down here. That's just general stuff, jack, bump box for my battery, you know, ratchet straps, toe strap, that kind of stuff. This is a little flip down, including some storage, keep my firewood and fire starters in there. Stove here, that would normally go there. Keep my bear box, because I backpack a lot, and actually store my extra food in here. I'm not really worried about bears, it's just a good place to store it. Then I have two 7.5 water containers here that basically have a long PVC tube, and it's attached to a water pump, so I have on-demand water. And then I have this flexible spout. I did a recessed sink on here, which is actually kind of unique. I don't use it as much as I'd like to, but this thing pops in here, and now I actually have a little more counter space. So that was pretty cool. Paper towel holder, got a spice rack and condiment rack up here. That was just something, trying to use every bit of space. I didn't have anything there going on there, so I just kind of made a shelf there. The fruit hammock that I feel like everybody has. Lucy light back here. And then some obvious other pots and pans. And then other than that, it's just some storage back here. The fridge I got is kind of cheap. I don't know if I'd get the same one again. I think I'd spend a little more money and again, get the Dometic or something. This will keep up in Mexico in the winter, but in the spring, I'll have to make a decision as to getting a better refrigerator. When I was living in Yosemite with my friends, a lot of us would go over to the Mammoth, which is 2 hours away, and we'd want to go hiking, fishing, climbing, all this stuff. Sometimes people didn't bring the gear they needed. They'd drive over in their car or their SUV even. They'd have camping stuff, but they wouldn't have fishing stuff, or they wouldn't have climbing stuff. I have everything. I'm huge into backpacking, going into the backcountry. My spare days off are hiking, backpacking, fishing. I like to combine those three. It started taking a big trip here, doing a big section of the Appalachian Trail there, and it's developed into this kind of obsession where I'm just always doing it. I've always been into photography. My mom was disabled for many years, and that's kind of where she was the one that inspired me to take up photography, because she couldn't go to these places. So and when I was a kid, I would go to all these places, and I never took pictures, and she was so mad. So as I got older, I started taking pictures, and then it was just mastering the craft to, enable that place to be replicated so other people could see it. I do nature photography. I like to be out in nature, and I like to experience it. The ability to pick up and go, like I said, the ability that when I want to go fishing, it's all right here. I literally will drive by a stream, and I'm like, oh, I'll fish it, Same way with my bike, because this is a great biking area. The ability to have all that stuff is definitely number one, I would say. My brother thinks it's awesome. He lives vicariously through me. My friends kind of think it's cool. I always try to remind people it's like anything in life. It's got pluses and minuses. Try it on a part-time basis where you don't have to live in it to start. Do your research, take your time, do it the right way, or get one that's pre-built at a price you can afford, and then you don't have to worry about like investing a lot of money into it, because it will just cost more than what you think.